So a lot of times, you hear people bring up history, especially as it relates to Black history and the things that have happened to Black people. And to me, I feel like a lot of people undervalue the importance of knowing that history, right? So when things happened in history, I guess you can kind of imagine it as on a timeline, and you can see where certain things happened and then they had certain impacts. Almost like maybe a ripple effect, in the water. You drop one drop in, and then you just get more and more ripples from that one drop. So when you look at it that way, if you're a person that says history is not important, I gotta say you're wrong. Now, especially if you're a person who takes an interest or cares about the condition of Black people, right? The way in which we got to where we're at, we didn't just wake up one day and we're this way. It didn't happen like that. There were things that happened all along the way that made us who we are at this point. As grown people, of course, we always have to understand that we have to take accountability for the things that we are responsible for. And we also have to take accountability for what our lives are, what our lives become, and the direction in which things go. So I don't want to skip over that. There is an accountability that we all must take for ourselves and what we want out of life. But at the same time, when you look at us, in totality, there's things that happen that made us the way that we are. So this brings us to maybe wanting to find solutions, right? I'm a person that, when I look at, us as a people, or even myself, I sit there and I say, okay, I've identified that I have this issue, right? There's something I need to deal with. How did I get here? Where did I go wrong at? What caused this? To me, I feel like it's necessary to understand root causes when you start trying to talk about solving problems. It's no different than, you having an old car, you blew the motor in it back in 1960. You said it's been sitting in the junkyard for 50 years or however long, and then you wanna bring that car back. You wanna bring it up to date. You wanna revitalize that vehicle. You can't just jump in that car, put a paint job on it, and take off riding, right? And so to me, that's what it looks like when we try to skip over the history and we just start trying to fix ourselves like in today. You have to kind of take into consideration what has happened and kind of start to unravel that. And that way, it gives you an opportunity to maybe actually fix the problem or understand where you went wrong or where things went off track, as opposed to, again, just trying to jump in that car, put a new paint job, put some new tires, and think that it's finna run. You gotta remember, you blew the motor back in 1960. So if you're hoping to drive that car today, you're gonna need a whole lot of more things, but for sure we know you're gonna need a new motor, right? When we talk about, all the things that happened, during slavery, after slavery, and all the way up to today, it all has to be considered as we try to find solutions. When we talk about, mass incarceration, for example, you got a lot of kids that were raised, dad wasn't around, Not that dad is the only thing that a child needs, but dad is important, right? So if you have a whole generation of kids where a large majority of them, dads were in prison or in and out of prison, or, maybe they got caught up in mass incarceration and the crack epidemic, If that's a factor, if that's something that happened to a kid or to a bunch of kids, you're going to start to see certain things as a result of those fathers not being in the home, or maybe those fathers being in the home but not being, up to real father standards. You're going to start to see certain things, and of course, the same concept would apply to moms. So there's a whole lot of different ways that I could go with this, this topic, but I'll just say, no matter which part you're looking at, it's important to understand the history and what has gone on and how we got where we're at. If you want to be, some type of leader, and you want to, be a revolutionary, or you want to be somebody that helps lead black people to liberation, it's important that you know the history, because when you know the history, you'll understand what happened to a lot of these movements that were already in place. You'll understand, the assassinations, the sabotage, all the different ways all the different tactics that were used to get rid of certain people, or to stop a particular movement, or to slow it down, or, so that way, if you want to be someone like that, you want to be some type of leader, or you want to, whatever it is, you understanding the things that have happened in the past will help you understand the possibilities and the things that could happen now. And the importance in knowing that history means that you'll know somewhat how to account for these things, how to prepare for these things, how to circumvent these things. So, end of the day, again, this is a conversation that we'll definitely revisit, because the history is very, very, very important. What happened in the past has absolutely everything to do with what's going on now. And if you don't understand that, perhaps you should take a second or a deeper look at the way you look at things, the way you go about things. So again, the history is very important. When you hear people talk about the sacrifices that were made, the things that people went through, the laws and the rules and everything that were changed, the booby traps that were set and all of these different things, it's worth a listen. So, let's just try to bring each other up to speed. Let's try to hold each other accountable. And again, man, it's really kind of inconsiderate when we skip over some of the brilliant, amazing, courageous things that our ancestors and our forefathers did, to help us even get to where we're at today. I don't want to forget them. I appreciate, I could even just go to my family. I appreciate the sacrifices that were made to give me the opportunities that I have now. I don't want to forget them. I want to take that into consideration. Maybe that's my motivation, right? If I know that somebody lost their life just to give me a chance, maybe I'll fight a little harder. I appreciate that, I ain't talking about like no racial war or nothing like that. I'm talking about just fighting harder to succeed, fighting harder to be successful, fighting harder to make good on the sacrifices that were made on my behalf, right? So even when you talk about your family, man, that's important. A lot of things went down, man. Even if your parents just worked hard, worked a bunch of hours, worked 2 or 3 jobs, even if they made those type of sacrifices, don't forget that. Take that into consideration. You show your appreciation by making good on the sacrifices that people made for you. So again, history is important. Don't ever forget the people that loved you, the people that paved the way for you, the people that gave you the opportunity that you have. Very, very important. Let's keep that in mind. Peace.